Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandia, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com. Hello, everyone. 2 weeks ago when we did this show, Tyler and Jon really got into it. They were upset with what the Chicago Bears were producing on the field. You remember, it was that fiasco in Cleveland. Well, now, 2 weeks later, the entire complexion of the team has changed. But are the guys still fired up about certain things that they're not happy about? Or is this going to be a really nice, cozy, feel-good show? We'll find out on this episode of The Bear Debate. Well, we're recording this live right after the Chicago White Sox lost to the Houston Astros in the playoffs. We'll see if that affects the tenor of this show in any way. Let me welcome in our debaters. First of all, let's bring in Mr. Tyler Ellis. Well, bring them in both. Jon Buffone and Tyler Ellis. How are you, fellas?
We are amazing. There's nothing cozy about this week. We won last week, but this is Packer week, like my man Jon said. So there's nothing cozy about this. It's time to get physical. It's time to get real. And it's time to buckle down.
It's time to get angry. It's Packers week. I don't care if the Bears are 0-5 or 5-0 or whatever. Win this game.
Now, before we start talking about the Packers, before we start talking about the Bears, there's headline news regarding Jon Gruden, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. What's the best way to say it? It's what is the best word?
It's a fireable offense.
Fireable offense.
Yeah. Right. I mean, met numerous of them. So you look at this, and you looked at this was surrounding the Raiders for a long time, or it's surrounding Raiders throughout the entire week. Some people talking about, did that affect actually the game against the Bears? Was this hovering around the players in Vegas? Did they think that the hammer was going to drop? Did this seep into how this actually affected the game against the Chicago Bears? I don't want to take away credit from the Bears. I think that was a hell of a win. But after the first report came out, Gruden kind of talked about not having anything else come out, and then the hammer dropped. And so, as the Raiders being a franchise that always embraced diversity and having, I believe the first minority coach, having the first African-American coach, having one of the first women in high-ranking title with the franchise, that certainly does not go along with the Raider way. So whether or not they knew about it, I don't know. But yeah, just a very tumultuous week around the Las Vegas Raiders, who on the field are having their own problems. And then you throw this whole other situation into it. Just a mess.
Didn't help. Tyler, your thoughts?
It's weird, Aldo. I mean, you guys know I'm very good at blocking out negativity, but it sucks because Jon Gruden, I really enjoyed that Tampa Bay team. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of respect for Jon Gruden as a coach, as somebody who's coached a lot of African-American players. I don't know the specifics of what was said. And it's like, why waste time doing negative research, so to speak? But I do believe it sucks. I mean, there's something that was, my opinion, this was like over a decade ago. And so it sucks that things that come from your past, people are paid to dig up your past, which is like, we live in that world where back in the 90s, this would have happened because there was no social media. And so it's like we are now in the information age.
Or emails.
And so, but at the same time, it also sucks because it's like you never know who people really are. And then it's like, are people living double lives? And this is when I get into, this is why we shouldn't idolize celebrities, and we should idolize the character of the man. And when people show you who they are, you got to believe them. I do believe it sucks. I do appreciate the fact that he reached out to Mr. Smith from the Players Association and offered an apology. I believe they are going to meet up. He did resign, so he did take the high road. It sucks. It just sucks because it hurts the league. It hurts the league more than anything else. It puts a bad taste in your mouth. But it was. Would Jon Gruden do this tomorrow? I honestly don't think so. This was 2011. He made a mistake. It wasn't just about that offense. I believe he said something about female referees and something about homosexual players being drafted. I mean, we live in a different time now. We live in a different time now where, respectfully, a lot of things are sensitive. A lot of things are sensitive. We have to be cognizant of what we're saying because you're going to offend somebody. And so, but we came back in the 90s. Comedians can joke about anything. But now a comedian, shout out to my man Dave Chappelle, respectfully, because you can't even say anything in a joking matter because the whole point of jokes is to bring laughter and to bring transparent for everybody, to be inclusive. And so we got to be careful with what we say nowadays, rightfully so, because you never know who you're offending. But if you're going to attack a certain group of people, you got to be ready to take care of the repercussions that come along with it. And so I wish Jon Gruden the best, respectfully. He did offer his apologies, but honestly, I didn't get that much deeper into it.
Yeah, the emails were over a several years period. So it was.
Yeah, the last thing I'm going to say about this, because I don't want to talk about this really, but to be honest, the last thing I'll say about it, he wasn't a teenager when he sent these. He was in his 40s. So I don't really buy the "I was young, dumb" offense. That that can work in certain situations. But he was in his 40s, and he said things that I cannot get behind. If you're gonna talk about the LGBTQ community like that, if you're gonna talk about women like that, if you're gonna use those tropes as they've been called against Steve Smith, then that's pretty. That's like that I saw in the chat room. That's a scumbag vernacular, and I whatever.
Why would you do that? Like, let me change the topic because it's kind of moronic. It's kind of moronic that somebody when that statue. Yeah.
Well, Dan and I will be talking more about this on Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls, which starts at 8 p.m. Central later tonight. Let's get to the Bear debate. The rules are simple. I ask a question, and each of the contestants here has 30 seconds to respond. So, you guys ready for round one?
Always. It's my pre-workout, John.
I like to hear that. Okay, question number one. I know you guys love boxing, and the Bears watched the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight the night before their game with the Raiders. Coach Nagy referenced the fight all week, telling his team that the battle with the Raiders was going to be a, quote, fist fight in a back alley. Now, both of you, like I said, you love boxing, and you know that the most boxing experts will tell you that the jab is the most important punch in the game. So which Bears player delivered the most impressive jab? By that, I mean, which player had the play of the game? Tyler, I'm going to begin with you.
That's interesting. I got to pick one player. I've been thinking about it, Aldo. I mean, I kind of want to say, first I was going to go with Roquan Smith, then I was going to go with Jesper, but I got to say Khalil Mack. But then I'm going to give DHC. I'm going to get Carson Q's DHC the credit for delivering a game situational turnover interception that kind of sealed the victory. That no, we will not let you get off. We will not let you come back.
Yo, it's easy for me. For an offensive line that we thought might be soft at times, I turned to James Daniels. The Bears are around the Raiders' 20-yard line. Justin Fields hands the ball off to Khalil Herbert, and James Daniels gets to the second level and picks up Denzel Perryman and throws him to the ground like he's trying to win the WWE Heavyweight Championship. Mind you, Perryman leads the league in tackles right now, and Daniels caught him in the air and absolutely stole his lunch money. That is Bears football. That epitomize the essence of that football game.
It sure did. And by the way, I just happen to have that play somewhere here. Let's take a look at it because it became kind of famous because Olin Kreutz tweeted it out and said, take a look at number 68. And this is, that's the wrong thing. Let me, that's my script, actually. Let's remove
Spoiler
that. And yeah, spoiler alert. You just saw the next question, Tyler. You're not supposed to look at it. Here's the play coming up right now. And again, by the way, the blocking on the entire line on this play was great. But what James Daniels did was super magnificent. You'll see him here at number 68. Watch him just take the defender back and just throw him down. Do you love it?
There it was. It's a rock bottom. If anybody is a wrestling fan out there, that's basically what it was. It was a power bomb, a rock bottom. It was aggressive.
I definitely retweeted with the WWF audio. That was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Yeah, James won back a lot of Bears fans with that.
Yes, he did. All right, let's get over to question number 2, round number 2, and let me get my little. There it is. All right. Next question. John will start us off. Justin Fields got rocked by the Raiders. In fact, in the short time he's been a pro, he's seen almost a season's worth of alarming hits and potential injuries. What is the level of concern that you have regarding the punishment Fields has taken, and what would you like to see the Bears do to better shield their franchise quarterback from harm? John, it's all you.
You know, this is why we can't have nice things, guys. We are the 5-year-olds that get a bright new shiny bike and we take it off a 20-foot ramp over a pit of nails, scrap iron, and cacti. This kid is tougher than a $2 steak, but let's not push our luck with this. Some of those design runs need to be a little less obvious, but he also needs to be better at protecting himself and understanding when to get down, and I think that'll get better with experience. But in the meantime, I don't want to see any more of those things like we saw on Sunday where I thought his knee buckled in the complete opposite direction. I know, I was like, oh God, please no.
Justin Fields that weighs about maybe 100 pounds, 150 pounds lighter than Ben Roethlisberger. I do admire his courage because he's standing in the pocket trying to deliver a throw. Because even though on the touchdown pass to Jeffrey Horsted, he took a very good shot after that. But that's a man who's willing to stay in there. I have a concern, but we talked about it on Bear Football on Sunday. He's going down and bracing himself with his hands. I don't want that to lead to any secondary injuries with his shoulder and everything. So I have a little bit of concern for it, but hopefully he eat his mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes, huh?
Yes,
how does mashed potatoes help?
No, you got to stack on some mash. You got to stack on mash.
Got to get heavier.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything schematically that the Bears should do differently to help Justin Fields stay safe and tell him just, stay in the pocket, don't run as often, or something else that they can possibly do?
I think we got to be careful with the schematics, because if we add more blockers, then we're only going to have 2 wide receivers running routes. Then everybody's going to get covered. We already got a guy coming in there playing an extra lineman at the tight end position, who's very excited about that. And so it's going to be getting rid of the ball soon as possible is always going to be. Tom Brady, who's probably been top 5 in the fastest quarterback releases over the last 5 years, is a staple for us getting rid of the ball quick. And so schematically, drag routes, knowing the hot route, that's really what it's going to be. That is the super check down. And so Justin has to be aware of that. But also, like John said, it's going to come down to pocket presence on the blind side.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything schematic. I mean, they did a 180 from this first game in there when he got sacked 9 times. So they took care of that a little bit. I think they're going to have to do some, understanding, okay, the play is over, get down, or don't take that hit to the ribs where it looked like he was going to throw up on the sidelines. Like there are times where you got to go into self-preservation mode as the quarterback, because without you, the team doesn't stand a chance. And if you want the guy to be your franchise quarterback, you want him to play every week in and out, and you don't want him to be a 3-4 year quarterback that gets thrown through the ringer and all of a sudden he can't play anymore because he's falling apart. So yeah, I think schematically they did a pretty good job. Like I said, those design runs, you can kind of tell when they're about to happen. So maybe disguise those a little bit better. But a lot of this comes down to a rookie needed to understand that got to take care of your body in there.
Yep. The NFL is a little bit different than playing college football.
Yep.
All right, we move to round 3. Okay. The last time David Montgomery was out of a game, the Bears had Cordero Patterson and Artavius Pierce at running back. Patterson had 12 carries for 30 yards, and Pierce rushed 3 times for 9 yards. Sunday, the Bears rolled out Damian Williams and Khalil Herbert. They combined for 138 yards. That's a 99-yard difference. It took me a while on my calculator to figure that out, but I got it. Are Williams and Herbert that much better than Patterson and Pierce, or is there another reason for the improvement? We begin with you, Tyler.
Awesome. I was like, who's going to get it first? And so my first thought is, who was calling the plays back with Patterson and Pierce was back there? That's one, because we see Cordero Patterson is definitely a weapon. He started off the season with the Falcons as a number 2, and he's clearly the number 1 running back in the Falcons. That being said, I love what we have. Bill Lazor calling these plays. It's just, you can't, success is a planned event. And I love the combo that we have. These combos, these guys on Williams and Herbert, they feed off each other immensely.
Look, I love Cordell Patterson, and I love that he's thriving in Atlanta, but he was not a full-time running back and certainly wasn't the guy who could tote the entire load for the entire game. The Bears have put together one of the deepest running back rooms in the entire league. David Montgomery, a top 5 back, if you ask me. Damian Williams, a guy who could have won Super Bowl MVP 2 years ago. And then you get Khalil Herbert, a rookie who could be a steal with his vision and aggressive running. And oh, by the way, you might get Tariq Cohen back in a couple weeks. So this crew is head and shoulders better than last year, and they do have a play caller who's actually going to utilize them.
Very good. Tyler, who does Khalil Herbert remind you of?
My guy. I mean, he really reminds me of a little bit of a lighter Jordan Howard, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
In my personal opinion, Jordan Howard. I love Jordan Howard. I didn't like the trade. I didn't like that we got rid of him that early. I feel like we just kind of used him for what we can get, and then got rid of him real quick. And he was a 6th-round pick. And so I think I like those underdogs, so to speak. But Herbert definitely reminds me of him, and especially when it comes to getting north. But I feel like he has a little bit more agility than Jordan Howard did.
What about you, John?
It kind of reminds me of Doug Martin a little bit. I remember the muscle hamster, about 5'9", 215 pounds, and just ran really aggressively and had really good vision of finding the running lanes and finding the hole. So he kind of reminds me of that, compact, real quick, and can just hit the hole real quickly. A little bit of that Doug Martin effect. He just kind of keeps churning forward, just kind of like what David Montgomery does too.
Mule Skinner has the correct answer. He reminds him of Khalil Herbert.
That's probably a safe answer.
He's got deceptive burst, and that is very true. He didn't run very well in the 40, but he runs faster on the football field than he does in any of the tryouts that he was on. And the other thing that I wanted to mention regarding this topic is that the Bears have done a really excellent job over the last several years of finding running backs in those middle rounds, starting with Jordan Howard and now Khalil Herbert and Tariq Cohen and so forth.
David Montgomery.
And David Montgomery, exactly, which leads to my next question here in round 4. Is it time to evaluate the roster building of Ryan Pace? I, for one, have been very, very critical of Pace's roster development. But as we just discussed, the depth at running back is improved, and there are other positions where there's been significant improvement. Gentlemen, after the evidence that's been submitted to you through 5 games this season, is Ryan Pace guilty of still having too many holes in the Bears roster, or is he innocent of charges of roster malfeasance? John, we begin with you.
I think it's a little bit of both. I've been critical of Ryan Pace, but I've been far more critical of Matt Nagy. But who hired Matt Nagy? Some would say Ryan Pace. So look, he is aggressive in pursuing the guys that he wants. He moved up to get Trubisky. He moved up to get Anthony Miller. Went straight to Nick Foles when the offseason opened up. But also, he moved up to get David Montgomery, moved up to get Travis Gibson, moved up to get Justin Fields, although that one was pretty obvious. But if he was just in charge of rounds 3 through 5, I might feel a little bit better. But he did bring this team out of the Trestman, Phil Emery area, so a little bit of credit there.
I mean, I gotta say, it's cool to see what we have when the players are used properly. We're more critical of Ryan Pace when we're getting blown out, and we look like our players can't even do anything. So it's hard to get a good evaluation of talent until we see our players used correctly. We talked about it plenty of times on the show before. We have good players. So it's finally good to see what we actually have. I got to give credit to Ryan Pace as well.
Mule Skinner says, ugh for Pace. He has missed far too many high draft picks. Do you think that's the headline when it comes to Ryan Pace, is those first round misses like Kevin White and Mitchell Trubisky?
That's fair. It's fair.
We have a franchise quarterback now, yo. I don't care about that anymore.
Yeah, but still, I mean, how hard was it to say Justin Fields is still available? I might get fired, so I'm gonna go ahead and just trade next year's first rounder because who cares if I'm fired anyway? I'm gonna go all in on this. I'm gonna go all in on this kid who fell to the 11th. So let's not give him too much credit. Not too much credit for taking the obvious choice.
But how many times have we not taken the obvious choice and tried to
well, that's even more the case then. He can't make the right ones.
So let's just give credit for him finally doing what was competent.
I give him credit, and I think that he's good as far as the mid-rounds, like Aldo said. But we can't just completely forget the fact that he did draft Kevin White. He didn't. He drafted Leonard Floyd. Now, whether they couldn't use him correctly or not, that's up to that's up to debate. But Leonard Floyd didn't get his contract extender. He didn't get the 5th-year option. Goes and gets Adam Shaheen. And there's a lot of other roster.
Those measurables were impressive, John. I mean to cut you off, buddy. But those measurables were impressive. Kevin White was like damn near 6'3", 6'4", running a damn sub 4.2. Adam Shaheen was damn near 6'6", 6'7", running a sub 4.3. Those coming
out of a community college.
But he was burning DBs. He was burning guys.
Yeah, who basically played football as a hobby.
But all I'm saying is Ryan Pace isn't coaching the tight ends. You see what I'm saying? As soon as Adam Shaheen left, he scored a touchdown in Miami. As soon as Trey Burton left, he was scoring touchdowns in the Colts. That's all I'm saying. As soon as Floyd left, back-to-back sacks.
So whose fault is it? If you want to blame the coaching staff, that's fine. Who's hiring the coaching staff?
All right, yeah, but that wasn't the question. The question was the draft pick.
Yeah, I know. I get it. Like, if you want to give him credit for some of the roster picks, absolutely. But he's also, from what I understand, because Ted Phillips has no impact on football operations. If you ask the ownership, so Ryan Pace apparently is the one putting together, him and Matt Nagy putting together the coaching staff. If they can't. And we've seen time and time again, they're not very good at developing players. So that's going to be a red flag as well. But overall, I'm going to give him credit for him hitting on a lot of good players, finding some of those hidden talent, like moving up to get Travis Gibson. And all of a sudden that looks really good. Right. Moving up to get David Montgomery when they were already depleted with draft picks. He sees the guy he liked and he goes after. I'll give him credit for that. He sees a guy that he likes and he says, I'm going to go get him. And he goes and gets him. So I'll give him at least credit for not laying back and just hoping things come to him.
Anybody agree with Don Burr, who says Brad Holmes of the Lions and Dan Campbell are the best GM and coach combination in the NFC North?
Bro, what are you talking about?
I appreciate the.
I love that, bro. What are you talking about?
We appreciate you coming in, but we appreciate you watching.
No, I appreciate the loyalty.
It's very impressive.
Dan Campbell's grown on me a little bit. I gained a lot of respect for him. I gained a lot of respect for him when he got emotional after that last loss. He gained a lot of respect for me and a guy who was going to be seen as a joke going into the season is all of a sudden starting to be like, you know what? I'd like to play for Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell seems like a fire guy. Now, whether that translates into game plan and whatever is a different thing altogether. But I wouldn't mind having Dan Campbell on my staff. Head coach, I don't know, but on my staff, absolutely.
Yeah, he still has to prove himself as a head coach, but as a crier, he's first rate, man.
Gentlemen,
Emotion, I like it.
I love it too. I'm just kidding him. When I saw him cry, I gave him kudos for that. I love the emotion. He cares, and the players will see that. They'll play for him any day of the week. All right, we move to the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Real quick, sir. Just my synopsis on Ryan Pace for the Bears Nation and everybody in the chat. I just want to say thank you guys for joining us. This is super dope to be able to do this again and come and talk to you guys. Ryan Pace, the Bears have, in my opinion, the best front seven in the entire NFL, if not top three for sure. We referenced 2018 because the defense led them to that. Ryan Pace got us, like John said, out of the Phil Emery era. Okay, David Montgomery goes down. Bears have over damn near 200 yards of rushing. That's Ryan Pace. Josh McDaniels had just impressed John. Ryan Pace. And so these things, we got to be able to take the bad with the good. Okay. Eddie Jackson was a first round talent, but it was a first round talent. If Eddie Jackson didn't get injured, he'd have been gone in the first round. He'd have been gone in the first round. There would never been a 2018 with all those touchdown interceptions. So we got to be able to take the bad with the good. I understand the glamour and the glory, but sometimes John is right. When John said the 3 to 5, that's when you go to that's when you get the depth of your roster. Because what happens when you have like the Ravens, who drafted a number one receiver who's been out on IR all season long, and so sometimes it's those middle of the pack picks that carry you through, like a Herbert. If Herbert was noticed in the first round, he wouldn't be here. So I credit Ryan Pace, who did a phenomenal job with the Saints, and his scouting background still allows us to have some quality depth behind our starters. Allen Robinson isn't getting the Allen Robinson volume that he's normally getting, but the Bears are still we're still moving the ball a little bit. Ryan Pace, that's all I'm saying.
Well,
yeah, I'm just more critical of the staff hires than I am the roster hires, because they've obviously had some deficiencies in developing players, and so either they're all busts but like you said, Gaines, Leonard Floyd doing well in LA. Adam Shaheen started catching touchdowns in Miami. So there was obviously some disconnect there. But
guys, come on. Adam Shaheen caught touchdowns here in Chicago too. He just wasn't on the field because he was always hurt. And go to Pro Football Reference and find out how many touchdowns he's had with the Miami Dolphins. It's like 2. So let's not exaggerate because he had one good game. And Nick Kwiatkowski with the Raiders, the same thing. He had one good game and everybody's bemoaning, oh, we shouldn't have let him go. We shouldn't have let him go. Don't be swayed by one highlight you see on ESPN. It doesn't mean that the guy is playing balls out.
So you don't want him, that you wouldn't want Kwiatkowski on the team then?
No, I was fine with letting him go. I preferred
for Danny Trevathan.
Yeah.
Well, how many games did Nick Kwiatkowski play last season? 4?
I'm not talking. I know, but if you were talking about, would you rather have Nick Kwiatkowski not with the Raiders, because that defense has always struggled? Would you rather have Nick Kwiatkowski with the Chicago Bears system, or would you rather have Danny Trevathan, who also isn't playing this year?
I saw Nick Kwiatkowski play about 7 or 8 good games with the Bears, and I saw him play more poor games. He was always beaten on crossing patterns. He was
and Danny Trevathan's really good in that. Danny Trevathan's really good at coverage.
Look at the stats. He plays a very good zone defense, Danny Trevathan does, unlike Nick Kwiatkowski.
When he's on the field.
Well, is Nick Kwiatkowski on the field? Look at the stats and see how many games Nick Kwiatkowski has been hurt for. It was fine to let him go, and you were also investing in hoping that Joel Iyiegbuniwe and Josh Woods would be able to play the inside linebacker. That's the problem, is that those guys have never developed into the heir apparents. You got to let some people go. You got to make some decisions. Those 2 guys that you guys brought up, Shaheen and Kwiatkowski.
I don't care that they're gone. I don't care that they're gone. But what I'm saying is everything that seems to be with this Bears organization is you got to put a Band-Aid on it. You got to put a Band-Aid on everything. Kevin White didn't work out. You got to go get Allen Robinson. Leonard Floyd didn't work out. You got to go sign Robert Quinn to a massive contract. The guys you drafted before, you got to extend Danny Trevathan for all these void years. They're going to be paying him 4 years after he retires. Mitch Trubisky didn't work out. You got to go get Nick Foles, and Foles didn't work out. So you got to get Andy Dalton. That didn't work out. You got to spend a draft pick to get Justin Fields. Everything has consistently been a Band-Aid. So that's where the frustration's coming out of.
That's a great point.
But that's also the NFL. The Cardinals are the Cardinals because look who they've got on that team now. I mean, at the end of the day, there's some teams that build during the draft, some teams build during free agency. We're not super heavy.
We don't do either.
Unfortunately, the Bears have had too many misses with important draft picks. All those misses that John just pointed out were all high draft picks. Shaheen, a second rounder. Trubisky.
So you had to go get Jimmy Graham.
White,
Shaheen didn't work out, so you get Jimmy Graham. Then you have to draft Cole Kmet with your highest pick of 2020. It's cyclical. It's just trying to make up for a bunch of bad things.
I believe that's a player development that you were speaking of.
Yeah.
All right, we move to round 5. All right, gentlemen. If you remember, our final question of this round last week was similar to this one. I asked John to make the case for the defense to get the Barroom Award for best play calling, and Tyler to make the case for the offense. This week, though, the roles are reversed. Tyler, you make the case for the defense to get the Barroom Award for best play calling, and then John, you get the follow-up with the case for the offense. So take it away, Tyler Ellis.
Flat out, the defense refused to lose, even though they were missing Akeem Hicks, who was sorely missed. They came out, even though they missed a couple coverages, they refused to let this Raider team, even at home, any type of be more aggressive. They met them at the line of scrimmage. They met them at the ball of attack. They were attacking the ball. Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, they were behind the line of scrimmage. Our secondary, they were hitting these wide receivers. Our offensive line was hitting everybody.
Look, now it needs to be the offense. The play caller knows he has a rookie quarterback, so what do? They hand the ball off 34 times and impose their will on the Las Vegas Raiders. The offense stole the soul of the Raiders defense. How many times have we been able to say that throughout the years? Bringing Alex Bars in for more protection, rushing for 140 yards, scoring touchdowns, rather than just aiming to get into field goal range and settle for 3, sign me up, because the Bears offense was actually fun to watch.
But I object, Your Honor, because the Bears went 3 and out a couple of times to start the game off, and once again, the defense held David Carr in check like they always do every week and allow the offense to get their crap together to score a couple points. This freaking defense is always going to be there. It's just that they bend and break in the third and fourth quarter if the offense doesn't score. Thankfully, the offense finally scored, and that allowed our defense to finally get some rest.
I was brought in to defend one side, and that's what I'll do.
So are you complaining of the side that you were assigned this week?
Nope. I stick to my argument. I rest my case. The defense rests.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with 5 more questions in the second half of our show. Don't go away. Fantasy football players, who do you start? Who do you sit? Find out every Sunday morning at 10:15 on the Fantasy Football Guru Show on the Barroom Network. right, I ran a poll to see who won the first half of the debate, and you won't believe what the results are. 50% for John and 50% for Tyler. It's the tie.
Go figure.
Couldn't have planned it any better.
Split draw.
But we will be asking that question again in the second half towards the end of the show. So get your votes in for the next poll. All right. Let's start with round number 6, the beginning of the first half. We begin this round by asking this question. Roquan Smith was asked about this hit, this one here that I actually put down twice, one in slow motion. He was asked about this hit and the penalty that he got, and he said that the penalty was BS. I ask each of you, was it BS? But more importantly, have player safety rules gone too far and have started to damage the game? John, I will begin with you.
Look, I'm all for making the game as safe as possible and making rules to protect the players. However, this is a violent contact sport based on being more physical and more violent than your opponent. And some rules that are aimed at making the game safer are never going to work. It doesn't matter if the penalty is 15 yards or 15 miles. Roquan Smith is going to try to detach the ball from the receiver in the end zone. In the heat of competition, a receiver or quarterback move just a half inch, and then all of a sudden the defender is lined up to make contact with the helmet. You cannot change your trajectory a quarter of a second while going full speed.
And the case in point is Roquan Smith is not a dirty player at all. Roquan Smith, in each and every one of those hits, he leads with his shoulder. You can't ask a linebacker to do more than that. They actually grew up launching their heads and their whole bodies at players. Roquan Smith is making a conscious effort to light people up with his shoulder. And especially if it's a touchdown, I'll take the penalty all day long because he's meeting the shoulder to wherever that ball is at, and I love that. Great job.
Do you guys agree with Beth, who says it's powder puff football now?
Look,
they're trying to make it that
very
way.
Much. Yeah, it's a cover your ass league now. After that whatever $1 billion settlement or whatever it was for the concussion, they are trying to cover all bases. So they say they did not create a dangerous work environment. Now they probably did whenever doctors were sending them back in, telling players they got their bell rung when they should have been on the sideline. But yeah, I think that this is very much this is pointed as far as there's a reason for all of this. And one is they want to see more points. They want to see the excitement on offense. Two, they don't want to set themselves up for anything down the line where it says, look, why were you allowing all these hits to the head or what have you? But like I said, these rules are like they're not keeping players from doing what they're doing because they can't stop. Roquan Smith, if he's going in at somebody with his shoulder and the receiver ducks down with the ball and the shoulder hits the head, Roquan Smith wasn't targeting the head. It just happens that the receiver ducked down and he's going to get penalized. That's not going to make the game safer. All you're doing is throwing a penalty then, because the intent, I think, has to play a big part of this. Yeah, when they took away targeting to the head, that did kind of make the game safer because it made players go after different parts of the body. That does make it safer. But if you're leaning with your shoulder and you're trying to light the guy up in the ribs and he just goes down in the fetal position, all of a sudden you take his head off, you weren't trying to do that. That's not going to make the game any safer. So it's frustrating as a fan to watch because you can see intent because we have slow motion and we have the luxury of watching things on TV where you can see there was absolutely no intent to hit the head there, and it's almost sometimes the receiver's fault for it happening. So, yeah, some of the rules are just never actually going to work, but they're in place for a reason. Let's not get that twisted.
But to what John said, it is recorded. I'm glad it's recorded. We should submit this to the NFL because from what John just said is why these should be challengeable, because you can see if there's an intent there because there was no intent, so it should be a challengeable. And at the end of the day, it's a linebacker doing his job. Are you supposed to let the people catch? I mean, the NFL, they want points and yards, but the defense, anything that's a highlight or a hit stick, they're throwing the flag on. That's what it is. If the crowd goes, ooh, flag, there got to be a flag. And so it's like, damn, you took all the highlights away? Like, damn, y'all forgot about Madden 2000 when Ray Lewis was in there? It was all about the hit stick. But now it's like, dang, man, you want all these silly diva receivers catching everything.
Guys, they're cleaning. They're remember that whole segment on ESPN, Jacked Up, that were right before Monday Night Football, where they played the biggest hits of the week. They don't do that anymore.
No,
because I think they're getting their marching orders from the NFL saying, guys, this doesn't look good. Stop it. Like people are getting hurt. Don't do it.
Man. That's soft, man. That's freaking soft, man. And I don't want to get I don't want to start talking randomly or I'm gonna get suspended. But like, damn, this is why people like Russia are so damn tough, man. This is like they tough, man. How they train, man. Like, what are you talking about? Like, come on. But this is exactly why wide receivers be complaining and crying all the time.
Well, it's also why I think it's what owners want too, because they're saying if I'm going to invest $200 million in an athlete, I want him on the field.
Yep. It's a lot of money. Round 7, guys. All right, the Bears lead the NFL in sacks. They are averaging 3.6 per game. A year ago, they were only averaging 2 a game. In fact, they are currently on track to get 61 sacks this season, which is 10 more than the Vic Fangio 2018 defense. What's the number one reason we are seeing in this resurgence of the Bears pass rush? Tyler, it's all yours.
I mean, the resurgence in his pass rush is will and commitment to finish. I believe these players have a fellowship that they want to have each other's back. It's next man up mentality, and these guys want to win. They want to win. When COVID came, the game almost was taken away from them, and you appreciate something more when it's taken away. So I feel like every single player that steps on that field, they're going all out on every single play, and these guys want to win a division.
Look, a lot of this is Sean Desai. Absolutely. Let's not get that twisted. But what were we saying with Vic Fangio and Chuck Pagano? If Khalil Mack just had someone opposite of him on the line to take the pressure off, the Bears' pass rush would be lethal. Well, Robert Quinn's having a major bounce-back season, and Khalil Mack is proving all of those doubters wrong as well. A scheme, absolutely, but having 2 monsters on the edge, that will make any offensive coordinator really uneasy. I think I'm also so blown away from the resurgence of Robert Quinn that I can't stop talking about it, but I think that having that other monster on the other side of the line is a big part of this.
Yeah. The resurgence of Robert Quinn has certainly helped the scheming by Sean Desai. And I think that the presence of Mike Patton, I mean, that was kind of his specialty when he was defensive coordinator before. So perhaps it's those 3 things and some other reasons too.
Let's talk about Packer Week, baby. Let's talk about the Packers.
What's the over under on the Bears getting sacks on Aaron Rodgers is 3. What do you say, Tyler? Are you betting on the over?
Oh man, you know what? I think we're gonna get 4 sacks. I'll bet somebody $100 that we'll get 4 sacks this week. Aaron Rodgers is still a bad man. I ain't gonna put nothing against him, but hopefully Sean Desai is smart and we double Aaron. We double Adams wherever he goes, and hopefully.
And we froze on Tyler.
It froze up. It's going back to the over under on the sacks. But I didn't know what the over-under was, and I was literally going to say 3. So now I was going to say now I got to pick a side, or I can pick a push, I guess. But I can see them getting 4 sacks. I can see them going in and getting Aaron Rodgers down 4 times because, quite frankly, they haven't shown that they're an elite offense or an elite team yet. So the Bears showing that they're an elite pass rush in this league. There's no reason to believe they can't get 4 sacks.
Jeremiah Atoshu has been put on IR. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. He was just a backup pass rusher, but his presence was felt at times, and he gave those guys a breather. You think that Jeremiah's absence from the roster the rest of the season is going to hurt the pass rush guys?
Does that mean more playing time for Travis Gibson then, or so I don't think so. I think that Travis Gibson needs more reps, and I think that they're going to see a lot more of him, and they're going to see what he's capable of, because with his limited time in there, he's proven that he can take on some of the best in the NFL, and I'm excited to see that. No, I'm not excited for any injuries, of course, but I am excited to see what he can do with an increased workload.
Very good. All right, we move on. This is round 8. Club Dub was a Matt Nagy creation in 2018. After their division-winning season, it was often criticized by Bears fans, and even the late coach of the Raiders, Jon Gruden, made fun of it after his team beat the Bears in London 2 seasons ago. Sunday, after the Bears win, the music from Club Dub was louder and longer than it's ever been for a team that hasn't won anything of significance since winning that division in 2018. Is this a good thing? John, begin with you.
Look, I know I sometimes take the curmudgeon approach to things, but it's hard to win in the NFL. You prep all week, you're sore all week, you're mentally and physically exhausted, and you push yourself past limits to beat the other team. If you have a good day at work, or you finish a big project, or you ace a test, most people don't say, well, you only passed the bar, but have you won any big cases recently? So no, let them be human. As long as this doesn't transform into anything that distracts the team, which really they've done a good job of keeping the lid on it, then let it go. Enjoy it.
Big facts. Big facts. That's it. Whatever. We're on the road. We were underdogs, and we had a game plan. We executed. Celebrate all you want. You want to feel like this again? Let's go beat the Packers, and that's going to be even a louder celebration. That's it.
Oh, you left a lot of time there on the table. Tyler, you tired? You can't go 10 rounds?
Knock him out, get him out of here. Just get him out of here.
I think he just wants to talk about the Packers. I think he's just going to keep kicking it out until we talk about the Packers.
I think that is true. All right, well, let's get to the Packer talk, because that is actually, no, we're not there yet. Round 9. Let me get my little effect here just for fun. Round 9 is my question is about Cairo Santos. He has made 34 consecutive field goals going back to week 3 of last season. It's the longest streak in franchise history. Did you hear me? The longest streak in franchise history. The record is held by Adam Vinatieri when he was with the Indianapolis Colts during the 2015 and 16 seasons. More importantly than that, on Sunday, Santos hit two late clutch game 46-yarders. Both of them were 46-yarders. Gentlemen, I want you just to use your 30 seconds to praise Cairo Santos. And Tyler, I demand you use all 30 of your seconds. Go.
Absolutely. I mean, once upon a time, it was a heart attack every time somebody went to go kick a field goal. And so, like Santos, I appreciate him just able to bring peace of mind to the players, the special teams aspect of you win football games in all 3 phases of the game. And it's super dope to have a special teams captain come in and perform. Santos, who came in, even from Kansas City, he came in, was hurt. We kind of let him go, brought him back, and he's been super, super clutch. I hope the Bears don't put him in 55 yards or more to mess up his record.
Well, I remember when the Bears were a kicker away from a Super Bowl. Remember those times? Well, but Cairo Santos has apparently broken the Robbie Gould curse, and I don't know what Infinity Stone he found or if he beat the devil in a fiddle contest, but this guy is for real, and it's amazing to not have to worry about field goals right now. And remember, he was part of the dark ages during Bears kickers, where he had a layover in Chicago during that whole Connor Barth, Mike Nugent, Roberto Aguayo, Cody Parkey miss. So he was here first and then came back, and different kicker once he was healthy.
The incredible thing is that the Bears actually had 2 good kickers. They lost the second one, who was on the practice squad. The New Orleans Saints picked up, I believe his name is Brian Johnson, who had an excellent preseason. And reports were that he was even doing better during his work at Hallis Hall. So the Bears have lost a good insurance policy for Santos, but it doesn't look like Santos is going to miss anytime soon. Now, did I just jinx him? I'm sorry if I did.
Well, poor Eddie Pinheiro got Wally pipped.
Oh, my goodness.
we thought Eddie was going to be the guy, and then he got hurt, and they're like, oh, I guess we got to keep Cairo Santos around. He didn't get cut at the beginning of the year, and now it's just like, oh, I guess I got consistency now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Caesar. I mentioned Cairo Santos' streak. Don't talk about it anymore. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to round 10. All right, this is the question that Tyler has been waiting for and will be discussing for another 20 minutes, I'm sure. this and all related Packers subjects. The Packers have opened as a 4-point favorite over the Bears for the next week's game. Guys, take off the homer hat. I want you to behave like, some professional gambler and tell me why the Bears will cover as 4-point underdogs and why. John, you're first.
I rarely wear a homer hat, but yes, I believe they do cover because Green Bay isn't as fierce as some thought they would be, but they still have Aaron Rodgers, and it's still Bears, Packers, and Chicago hasn't had a lot of success over these past 3 decades when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. But if they do what they do last week, they get after the quarterback on defense, control the ball on offense, establish a run game, and then maybe hit some big shots down the field coming off of play action, there are going to be opportunities to put points on the Green Bay defense.
I mean, at the end of the day, the whole point that I'm going to make is I feel like these Bears are ready for the next level. After what they showed us last week, the reason why they're going to cover is because from the special teams that we just talked about, the defense is – I think the defense is like thirsty to score. That's what I truly, truly believe. And I believe they're going to try to put a cap on Aaron Rodgers. I think they're going to try to hit him. And so that being said, the Bears offense takes a major leap forward with the injuries to the Packers defense, and they stay with them and win.
One of the interesting things that I'm going to be looking at this Packer-Bears game is Sean Desai's scheming and play calling. We know that Aaron Rodgers is probably the second smartest after Tom Brady quarterback in pro football. This guy has seen it all. He's a really smart guy. He can decipher what the heck is going on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He's got a good rapport with most of his wide receivers. So it's going to be interesting to see how Desai tries to hide coverages, come up with exotic blitzes to try to fool Aaron Rodgers, if that's even possible. So, John, I ask you, is it possible to fool Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, sure. I mean, no one's infallible, and I think that Aaron Rodgers has had. I mean, look at Week 1; they were completely out of sorts against the New Orleans Saints. So I'm sure Desai is already cooking up something to try to throw Rodgers through a loop and see if they can throw some different coverages at him, see if they can throw some exotic blitz packages at him. So I think that. It is possible. Now, let's not forget that it is Aaron Rodgers back there, and so he has been a bear killer for the majority of his career. But this is a new defensive coordinator. We got Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack both firing on all cylinders. So, and much like with that comment just as play action, I think if the Bears are able to establish that run game like they did last week, and they were running the ball 34 times, and they start getting guys inching into the box a little bit, you can send Darnell Mooney down the streaks and see what you can get. They need some explosive plays in this game. I don't know if they're going to be able to nickel and dime their way to a victory, but I think that if they can connect on some big explosive plays, they're going to be right in this at the end.
What do you think, Tyler?
Multiple explosive plays. Aaron Rodgers, I want to be up by 21 points with 30 seconds left. That's what it takes to beat Aaron Rodgers. The Bengals were supposed to win this game. I mean, there was 4 or 5 missed field goals to end that Packers and Bengals game. The Bengals should have walked away with an easy victory in that game. The Packers are there. I don't like them because they're good. It's a rivalry is with a team you respect. And I respect the Packers. I can't stand them. Those colors together make me upset. But
yeah, it's the worst color scheme ever.
It is. It's so ugly. But it's because I respect them. And don't forget about the addition of Jalen Smith, I believe. He's a force, number 9. Watch out for that guy. Mm-hmm. And so on the defense side of the ball. And so this team, we got to score some points.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Mm-hmm.
Well, interesting question. I forgot who. I think it was Caesar asked, how many times has Aaron Rodgers been sacked this season? So I quickly pulled up the stats. 1 time in game 1, 3 times against Don Burr's Lions, 1 time against the 49ers, 3 times against the Steelers, and 2 versus Cincinnati. He rarely is sacked that much in the last few seasons. I mean, early in his career, he actually had like 30, 40 sacks in one season because he was criticized by Packers fans as holding on to the ball too long. Well, lately he's been not only holding on to the ball too long, but the offensive line, because of the injury to David Bakhtiari at the left tackle position, and also some changes at the center position. They let go of Corey Linsley, one of the reasons Rodgers was so angry during the offseason, the center. And so this offensive line is not protecting Rodgers like he has been protected in the past. And the Bears pass rush has a chance to really put the hurt on him. I could see both of you guys getting excited as I'm talking.
Yeah, because I think there's gonna be opportunity. I think this is the best pass rush that the Packers will have faced this season, and so it's a very good possibility that they can. What'd you say? They gave up 3 to the Steelers, and that's just I think T.J. Watt played in that game, or maybe he left early, so they got Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn coming at them now. So I think that there's and honestly, they have to get home, because if not, you cannot give Aaron Rodgers 4 seconds to scan the field. I understand that Jalen Johnson's turning into a lockdown corner. Kindle Vildor is playing above expectations, and Duke Shelley has his moments, but you cannot let Aaron Rodgers scan the field without any kind of pressure on him. He does improvise well, but he's getting to the point now where he's in his late 30s, and he's not going to just be able to be as mobile as he was. Now he's still somewhat mobile, but you got to get him down. You have to get him down. You gotta upset his stance or get on his platform, whatever cliche or coach speak you want to say. You gotta get up in his face and disrupt it, because if you give him a spare second, he will find Randall Cobb, who's still on the damn team. They'll find that guy 40 yards down the field. And the last thing I need to see is Randall Cobb running free behind the secondary. I've seen that far too many times.
And Tareen is right. The Green Bay center is a rookie. I'm sorry, Tyler. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say everything John said is like double down. Like, I want the Bears to win. We feel like I think we're all ready for the Bears to take the next step. And if it wasn't for this Raiders win, it would just be hope. It would be hope before the Raiders game. And like with the homer hat off. But now we have tangible evidence that, hey, we can play football in the NFL. Okay. So now let's go do it against a division opponent. It's an NFC team and a division opponent. If you want to go to the playoffs, these are the game that matters. Okay, the Bears lost to an AFC opponent in terms of the Browns. That hurts, but it doesn't hurt you as bad. When it comes to the playoff race, it's about conference games and divisional games. And this right here is a big deal. We already talked about it. We'll be a half a game ahead. And so if we're ready to take that step, this is a measuring stick. Okay, I want a good fought game. If it comes down to a last minute, then okay, so be it. But I want us to show up and show out. I'm sick of the Packers bullying us around. We act like we can't get it together. I feel like Khalil Mack finally has 2 other partners that's ready to come in and play. And it'd be really, really soon. We got Eddie Goldman back. And so this is Roquan Smith. Light up Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is a force. He shades. He gets stronger after contact, and he can avoid tackles. We got to gang tackle him. I think Roquan, I don't care about the flags. Light him up, Roquan. Light him up. Devontae Adams, he's damn near uncheckable, excuse my language, after 4 seconds. Aaron Rodgers is going to try to run around. But if we're sending all different angles of pressure, I think it's going to get very exciting with Robert Quinn playing the way he is, gentlemen.
Well, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, to your point, I think it is important that the Bears, I think they can win this game, but I think it's paramount that they stay competitive in this game, because I think that there is a knock on the Bears that they might not be for real. And there's the narrative that they only beat Las Vegas because of the controversy swirling around that team, and their other wins come against the Lions and the Bengals. And so this would be I said last week would be a measuring stick of whether or not they're going to be a decent team. So I think they are a decent team. To beat the Packers, where people consider them a Super Bowl contender every year, to be able to beat the Packers, then you can start saying, all right, they can hold a flame to Tampa Bay. They can go in and beat San Francisco. They can go out and they can maybe compete with Arizona later in the season. And so this is a real good test to say, you want to be the best, you got to start playing with the best. And so good enough and beating the bottom feeders isn't enough to just squeak by. You actually got to beat some good teams, and it starts with the team that they hate the most, or at least Bears fans hate the most. And so this will be big, because I think this will be an emotional game. And if they go in there at home and get absolutely their doors blown off, that's going to set the tone to go into this big part of the schedule. If they go in and they and I don't wish them to lose by 3, but if they lose on a Mason Crosby field goal, but they was tooth and nail, then you can build off that. I still think they can win this game, and I hope they win this game. So, but the last thing that can happen is for them to lose by 18, 21 points.
Right. And we got Justin Fields, y'all. We got a
Yeah.
quarterback.
Gotta love the fact that the schedule makers gave Justin Fields his first game against the Packers being at Soldier Field. I think that's going to really help him a lot. And he will quickly, if he doesn't already, and I'm sure he does, but he will quickly realize how important this game is to Chicago Bears fans. Because those fans, if they're anything like they were against Don Burr's Detroit Lions, when I was there, those fans were fired up and really, really helped the Bears win that game because of all those red zone mistakes that the Lions were making. So all I want to say to all you Bears fans who are going out there, please be quiet when Justin Fields has the ball and really make a lot of noise when Aaron Rodgers has the ball. Guys, I got to tell you, the final results are in for who won the second half. Remember, with that, it was a tie in the first half. In the second half, a minute and a half before I closed the poll, Tyler was leading. I just closed the poll, and the results are in. John Buffone, 53%. Tyler Ellis, 46%. John Buffone, you're the winner. Please lead off your final comment.
Hit me after the bell. Hit me after the bell.
So the wily veteran sneaks in a rabbit punch in the late clinch. And I also paid off one of the judges as well. So that's neither here nor there. Awesome show. Appreciate both of you being on this. Appreciate everybody in the chat room. Like I always say, if it's your first time or 50th time listening, appreciate everybody interacting, especially in the poll, on the debates and the questions. This is awesome. I could care less who wins this debate because we get to talk about the Chicago Bears every week, and we get to talk about the prospects of the Bears being good. So that's even better. So this is just a really good time. Be sure to tune in to all of our programming on the Barroom Network. Buffone 55 moving to Thursday this week, a special Thursday edition of Buffone 55, where we will break down Packer Week. Obviously, Dan and Aldo will be on later tonight, and obviously for the downloadable version. And then Danny Shimon on Thursday as well, breaking down the tape, seeing what the Bears did right, seeing what the Bears did wrong. Mike North, Greg Gabriel, all across. So much Bears programming on this network. Honest to God, if you want fresh Bears content every day, you got to tune into the Barroom Network because we're on it every single day. And of course, after the game, Bear football, raw emotions after Packer Week. Make sure you tune in right after the game.
Amen. Amen to everything my brother John said. It's an absolute pleasure. This is Packer Week, Bears Nation. If you're going to be there, like Aldo said, please show up and show out. At the end of the day, shout out to everybody on the network. Make sure you guys are tuning in to my man Joe Mando and his brother Adam. They're getting you guys ready for fantasy. It's fantasy football season. And so if you're losing, it's because you're not listening to Fantasy Goon. Okay, so check that out for sure. And my guys on Bar Flight Tailgate Show, much love. But besides that, just I appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys added the emotion and the moxie to the show, and we do this for you guys, and it's an absolute pleasure. I don't take this lightly. It doesn't feel like work when you love what you do. I appreciate conversing with my brother John and Aldo. It's always a pleasure, and we will catch you all here halftime, Football Sunday.
There you go. And just one quick programming note, then I got to get ready for the Dan and Aldo show that starts in less than an hour. We have two shows that were just loaded today. One of them is the Double A Team, a show that I'm very proud of. Stephen Nagishi came to me and said, Aldo, help me out. There's been a lack of representation in the media of Asian Americans talking about sports and entertainment. I'm interested in developing a show. He brought in Ken Fang, who works with Awful Announcing, the website that reviews television, sports media, and so forth. And the two of them debuted their first show yesterday. It's an outstanding episode. Mike Chen, who used to work at the Score Sports Radio, had some very provocative words to say about his employment time over at the Score. So you really need to listen to some of the challenges Asian Americans have faced in the sports media world. And then in addition to that, Science Fliction, a new show developed by Salim Sudarwala and Carl Ames. If you like Marvel, if you like science fiction movies, that's the show for you. These are two professed, I'm not calling them nerds. They call themselves nerds, and they are nerds. Come on, I'm calling them nerds too. But they're great. They're love and they're passion, but they're great. All nerds are great, and it's not a but. Nerds are great. Everybody's great. But my point is that these guys love the topic so much that you will tune into that show if you have any inkling at all, any like at all for science fiction and Marvel. Give them a shot. Science Fiction episode 2 just dropped. Guys, it's always a pleasure working with you, and I can't wait for next week when we're talking about the Bears beating the Packers and moving to first place in the NFC Central. Or do you say North? I don't know. I don't know what.
Depending on how old you are.
Then I call it the NFL. Yeah. All right. We will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.